ervaring.
Fake news.
What is fake news and why do people spread it? Well, sometimes it could just be someone playing about with AI software to create an image that might go viral, like this one. A supposed loch monster being captured almost 100 years ago in Scotland. Some people thought it was real, but it's fake. Or it could be something more sinister, like these fake photos of flowers that look like kittens. Dodgy websites were claiming to sell these so-called cat's eye dazzle seeds to scam people out of money. And sometimes fake news can be more dangerous. Some people use misinformation to spread confusion and fear, to win political power or to do harm to other people. Recently, the spread of fake news led to some really scary events. The news of a knife attack at a summer dance class in the English town of Southport, which tragically resulted in the death of 3 girls, left everyone in shock. But sadly, some people used the tragedy as an excuse to cause more violence across the country. False information about the attacker was quickly spread online. He was incorrectly labelled a Muslim immigrant, asylum seeker, and illegal migrant. The claims seemed to spark violent riots by a group of people with extreme views on immigration. Many of the rioters support what's called the far right and are against people settling in Britain if they weren't born here. Across the country, mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers were targeted, police officers were injured, and police cars were set on fire. Hundreds of people who took part in the riots, including those who were spreading hateful messages online, were arrested by police, with many facing time in prison. So why is there this hostility towards migrants and asylum seekers? Dr. Krish Kandia runs a charity that helps support refugees who have fled danger or war in their countries and are now living in the UK.
This is a small group of people that have been whipped up by misinformation they've read online to cause chaos and violence, particularly against people who have moved to the UK. They are often targeting people based on the colour of their skin, and that's called racism, and we have to oppose that. But they're also blaming migration for some of the problems that our country is facing right now, whether that's a lack of housing, whether it's long NHS waiting lists, or whether it's just a cost of living crisis. And that's really unfair to blame this group when actually everybody from all sorts of backgrounds across the UK are facing the same struggles.
We've been looking into the facts about refugees and asylum seekers. At the end of last year, there were 44 million refugees and asylum seekers worldwide who had to flee their countries because of war or the threat of violence. Many of them are children. Asylum seekers become refugees when a different country legally grants them the right to stay in that country. More than 7 out of every 10 refugees come from just 5 countries. They're places hit by war and violence like Syria, Afghanistan and South Sudan, and most recently Ukraine. And then extreme poverty has driven millions of people out of Venezuela. Most refugees end up in the countries right next to where they came from. So, how many people have fled to the UK? Well, at the end of last year, it's thought there were 586,800 asylum seekers and refugees currently in the UK, and many of them have been here for years. That's less than 1% of the UK's population. In 2023, there were 67,337 applications for refugee status. The majority came from Asia, and in particular, Afghanistan, which has seen terrible conflict in recent years. And what about other misinformation far-right groups might spread about refugees? Like there aren't enough jobs or houses to go around in the UK. Well, the majority of asylum seekers aren't actually allowed to work until they get their refugee status. And Britain very much relies on workers not born here. For example, 1 in 5 workers in the NHS are foreign nationals. There is a massive shortage of homes in the UK, but that's because of a lack of house building in the past. The new Labour government has pledged to build 1.5 million houses over the next 5 years. This isn't specifically a refugee problem. In response to the riots, thousands of people took to the streets to support migrant families and refugees, and to show that racism won't be tolerated in their communities. They think refugees should be made welcome here and given our support to rebuild their lives. Today, misleading information can travel around the world in just a click of a button. So always ask yourself if the story sounds believable and whether there's solid proof to back up what's been said. If you see a claim online, either about refugees or something else, and it seems a bit fishy, one thing is to work out where the information came from. If it's on Sky News or other respected news platforms, then you can probably trust it. But if the story's been put out by an organisation or a person you don't know, then it would be sensible to double check what they're saying. Remember, things aren't always as they seem online.